Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Frank Longo, and I'm the goaltending development coach at Stansted College, as well as the head instructor with 360 Goaltending. And today we're going to be talking about the topic of goaltending coaching and how to go above and beyond for your organization and individual development. First off, I just want to say thank you to Ryan Stacey and Instat Hockey for making this conference possible. And I hope everyone's keeping safe and doing well, and you're all enjoying the summer weather right now. Again, just one last thing before we dive into this presentation. If you have any questions at the end of it, please don't hesitate to reach out. My information will be on the last slide. Yeah, I would love to talk hockey or talk shop, if you will. And so if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Just wanted to say that before we get into this. First off, we'll just do a quick little background of my coaching career thus far. I have 10 years of coaching experience since the age of 14 years old. I started, obviously at the grassroots level, with the young ones and the beginners. And that started with coaching with my first ever goalie coach, who was Carson Bird, and he made his own business, Carson Bird Goaltending, at the age of 18, and I started coaching with him when I was 14 years old. Later on, I became a head instructor with him, and I can't thank him enough for all the experiences and mentorship that he provided me over all those years, and that's where it all started for me. And by doing so, I was able to get some coaching positions with Whitby Minor Hockey. Again, in my minor major AAA year, I was able to coach my first ever team as a goaltending coach. It was the U14 AE and single A team. I was the goalie coach for both of those teams, and after building relationships there with those coaching staffs, I was able to land an assistant coach and goaltending coach position with the U15 AAA team in 2015, which was massive for my development and massive for my coaching career. Um, and I ended up getting the opportunities as a tryout evaluator after the fact, and a lot of great stuff came out of it. And it was awesome to coach for the organization that I played for many years. Um, yeah, that was a big piece to my puzzle as a coach. And then this past summer in 2020, I actually moved to North Bay, and that's where I met Dan Spence, and he's been phenomenal, and I ended up becoming a head instructor with him, and that's where I am today, um, with 360 Goaltending, which runs out of Ontario and British Columbia. I'm fortunate enough to have met him and to work alongside him as well. The hockey world's small, and you build so many great relationships throughout the years, and he's just another one to add to the list of great hockey minds. And then that led to a position, which is where I am today, which is Stansted College, and I'm the goaltending development coach across 5 programs now. I started in August of 2020, and there was only 4 programs actually at the time. And this season coming up, we're adding a fifth program, a girls junior varsity team. So we're excited about that. But this will be my second season with them now, and I also work in the admissions office, helping build the hockey programs for years to come. So we'll see where my hockey career takes me as time goes on, and I'm happy where I am now, and I'm excited to see where I go next. We'll dive in here on the first slide. So when starting with a new organization and program, stuff that was very similar to what I did when I first made the Stansted College as a coach, and get involved with them, and then also with even the Whitby U15 AAA team, stuff that you want to do to build that successful culture. So introduce yourself in person to everyone involved, the coaching staff, arena personnel, the players, community supporters, anyone that you can that supports a team and is involved and actually works for them as well. It makes the experience that much better, and it makes coming to the rink that much more fun every single day. And also have a common goal approach, chasing after a common goal, contributing to a successful culture. If that's, winning a championship or, making it to the first round, whatever it may be, have a common goal about what you're trying to achieve. It makes everyone be on the same page and try to achieve the same goal. And it also creates a kind of a family atmosphere as well when, everyone knows where they want to be heading as a team and individually. Come in with an organized, structured development plan as well. It shows that, you're eager to, to get going, that you have a plan, and you know what you're doing. That this is what I'm going to do to help the goaltenders be successful and help the program be the best it can be. As well, do your research on the teams that you work for. On the history of the organization, the current coaches and players. The stats from the year previous, or even years previously. Those are all important pieces to the puzzle about where that organization will be heading, and is there already a successful culture put into place, and how can you make it better, or how you can maintain the success that's already been put into motion. And then also come in with a lot of energy and positivity. That's a huge thing. Anywhere that you go, you want to be excited, you want to be eager to get going, and to lead the team to as much success as possible. No matter what your role is on the team, if that's equipment manager, goalie coach, assistant coach, whatever it may be, you are a piece of the puzzle, and every single piece is important to the overall big picture. So that's very important. You want to be a positive force every single day, and it rubs off on everyone else in the organization. When you're positive, they become a lot more positive too. And if you show excitement, it just rubs off. Everyone becomes excited, and then when you do that day in and day out, great things happen. And then lastly, people first, then hockey. The success in hockey will come, but first take care of the people in the organization. Build those everlasting, meaningful relationships. Like I said earlier, the hockey world's small. You might run into these individuals again down the line. You might be working with them again with a new organization, or you might have to call upon them, or they might call upon you about advice or whatever it may be. You want to take care of the people first, because if you build that family culture, all the success in hockey will come after fact, especially when you face adversity. And you have a tight knit group as a coaching staff and as a team and as an organization. You can get through those rocky waves, no problem, and then success follows right after, as everyone knows. So how do we effectively communicate and build relationships with team personnel and athletes? So firstly, we'll talk about team personnel. Be reliable. These are all things that go hand in hand if in any type of job that you're doing, right? So you want to be on time, be organized, and be up to date. Know what's going on in the coaching world today. You want to, know what softwares are being used, what tools are being used with all the technology nowadays. Like there's so much going on, like, coach them, Instat, Huddle, sports code, like just be up to date with what's being used around, the league that you're in right now and at the professional level. So you can have all the tools to make your program as successful as possible. But also get to know the other coaches on a personal level as well. Their family life, their upbringing, their coaching experience, their coffee order. I put it in there because, sometimes those early morning practices, or, a long, long day on the road, it does help to surprise them with a coffee here and there. Or if they do ask to have a coffee or to get a coffee from you, then, at least their order, and then also know their hobbies as well, right? Like you want to be able to have, this relationship with them, and talk about various things, not just hockey, right? Especially when you spend so much time with them in the coach's room, or if you're on the road with them, or if you're lucky enough to be flying with them, whatever it may be, you're going to spend a lot of time with them. So might as well, build that friendship and that relationship with each and every coach that you're with. And help in any way possible. Get involved and add value. And the reason why those are in capital letters is because I believe that for anything that you do in life, get involved in your community, with your program, with your athletes, and add value in any way you can. So help with laundry, help the equipment manager with whatever tasks that they have. And if you have an extra second or an extra hand, be that guy or be that girl and help. Right. So, help set up drills for assistant coaches and, other coaches, get on the ice maybe 5-10 minutes earlier, and, help set up what they're trying to accomplish for that practice plan. Help with community events, be a presence, be a face, be a voice. because you are representing the program and the organization, and yourself, right? So you want to help in any way you possibly can to make the organization as successful as possible. Also, be a communicator and connector. If you see certain practice plans on social media or online, don't be afraid to share them with the rest of the coaching staff. If they use them, great. If they don't, it could be something that's in the back pocket for the future. Share those resources. If that's podcasts, any type of information that you think will be useful, share it off and see what can happen. Maybe they will use it and if that they would have never saw it if it wasn't for you, right? So it's very important, and vice versa. Sometimes I get sent stuff from our head coaches and assistant coaches that I haven't come across, and I'm thankful in that way that they thought of me and they want to send it my way, which is awesome. And then also networking, right? The hockey world, like I said, is small, and there's so many great individuals out there that have such great vast knowledge on the game that by networking you get to learn so much about the position. If especially with this presentation, this being goaltending, networking with other goaltending coaches and just having that dialogue and building those relationships with others from all around the world. And then also lay out your goals for the season. What do you want to accomplish as a team? So what do you want the program to accomplish? And, what are you striving for? But also on an individual basis. It's good for the other coaches to know that you're looking, for opportunities at the next level, or you're happy where you are and you want to be set there, and, you want to build a legacy, whatever it may be. It's good to lay out your goals this season, short term, but also long term as well. And it's good to know what their long term and short term goals are as well. So, all good stuff, I think, in regards to team personnel. And so, to continue this with athletes, communicate your philosophy and non-negotiables. So do not have a cookie cutter approach. So what I mean by that is, the game can be played in so many different ways, and you want to adapt to their style. So, you want to enhance their strengths and also diminish their weaknesses, right? And, add tools to the toolbox for certain situations, so they are well equipped and prepared for gameplay, right? Especially, if they're playing more than one game that weekend, it's always good to have that dialogue with them. And also, recognize the patterns being presented in front of them. All the details that are talked about in practice, and a lot of repetition are going to come out in the gameplay. So it's up to you as a coach to make sure you well equip them and they're prepared for these situations that will be presented in front of them. Also, building their hockey IQ and learning key tendencies that your defensive system projects. Also the tendencies and patterns of the opposing team when they enter the zone, power play setup as well. Where are the biggest threats, et cetera, et cetera. How do they enter the zone? And all those things are very important to have that dialogue with your goalies and that communication with them. But in regards to philosophy, I'll talk a little more about my philosophy and my non-negotiables. Firstly, I think it's very important as a goaltender, as a non-negotiable, is, being the first one on the ice and being the last one off, and being the hardest worker in the room. As a goaltender, you're like the captain of the ship. You lead by example, and you want to be an exceptional leader. On the ice, in the classroom, in the community, have goals and be extremely determined to achieve them. That's what you want from your goaltenders. It rubs off on the rest of the players. And I think that's very important in the team dynamic as well. But as well, like for me, in regards to my philosophy, work ethic and attention to detail is very important. Like I just mentioned, like how hard are they working? And the attention to detail is very important, because you want to make sure that every movement you're making is something that you would do in the game. And it all translates, right? It's all about creating those habits, right? So, trusting the process and consistently creating and continuing good habits day in and day out. The importance of tracking, so, your visual attachment to the puck, situational awareness, moving with balance, stability, and control. So our goals can be reactive and proactive based on the situations presented in front of them. Recovering to their spots with explosiveness, so they can gather as much information as possible as quickly as possible. Staying patient on their feet, being as many plays on their feet as possible, With the way the game is today and how deceptive players are and how and fast players are today, you want to be patient on your feet. Doesn't matter if you're 5'10" or 6'4". You want to be patient on your blades as much as possible, and beat as many plays on your feet. Right, slide only if you have to, just so you can get to your spots and set your feet. Scanning the ice is a big thing for me. Looking for threats, knowing the right times to do a head check. Right, that's very important. Right, it's all situational awareness and building that hockey IQ. And another thing that I like to really drill into my goaltenders, and I say this almost every practice, is square, set, track. It's almost a reminder I said in warm up that I tell each and every one of my goaltenders is, get square, set those feet, and track effectively, right? Get head to hands, nose to puck, making sure your nose to puck. And what I mean by that is being on top of blade, so you're square, and then you can effectively track pucks in and away from your body. And then lastly, why are non-negotiables so important and needed, is for consistency in our game. In our gameplay, we don't need to think too much during a game. It's natural and second nature, and we know how to approach what feels comfortable. We can just focus on tracking and reading the game in front of us, which is very important. So going on to the next point here, learn their backgrounds as well. Be involved with their life outside of hockey, so their playing / life experience, their hobbies, why they started playing, etc. I think those are all very important pieces to the puzzle as well when it comes to the mentorship that you're going to build with them and a relationship that you're going to build with your goaltenders. You're going to be their caddy or gatekeeper, if you will. You're going to guide them through the process, based on your own knowledge, what you've learned as a coach and, in your playing days, from research, again, from networking, from reading, from just learning every single day, right? You want to be a lifelong learner. The moment you stop learning is the moment you're going to fall behind. And the game is always changing. There's always new information, especially in the goaltending position. I think that's the position that's changed the most out of, any position in all sport is hockey goaltender in the last, I would say the last 10 years, which is, incredible. And you have to always be up to date and be willing to learn and be eager to learn. So those are very important. And then find out what drives them, feed into what makes them tick. So as a goaltender, the mental side is just as important as the physical side, feeling comfortable to talk about all walks of life, not just hockey. So they feel that they can trust you, and can ask any questions, or, if they have any concerns about school or personal life or whatever it may be, they feel that they can sit down and have that conversation with you, so we can get their mental side back on track. So then they can translate again into their physical play and leading to success. Be a role model. I think this is a very important piece too. As a coach, is you want to act professional in every way. Sorry. This goes for head coaches, assistant coaches as well, video coaches, whoever it may be. You want to act professional. The way you talk to other players, the way you talk to the coaching staff, the way you present yourself. How you take care of your body, right? As a coach, usually means you're an athlete before, right? You were a hockey player at one point. It could be from various different levels. Doesn't mean you're going to be a better coach or not a better coach based on where you play, but you want to show that you take care of your body, that nutrition is important, that you have a great physical appearance, that you care about your body, and you work hard for your body, and almost as if you're still playing. So then when you have that dialogue and that communication with your athletes, they listen and they trust because you're doing the same thing. You're showing that what you teach is what you live out as well. And then share a common goal that you and your athletes are working towards. If that's a championship, getting to the next level, etc. Let them know what your goals are as a coach, that you're striving for, that next step. So then they know that you're serious about what you're doing, and also helping them achieve their goals and dreams at the same time, because that is the first and foremost important piece of being a coach is, your athletes and getting them to the next level, and, and really listening to what they want to achieve as a goaltender and as a person. But also just a little note here too, don't be afraid to do this with players on the team as well, not just the goalies. You build relationships with the players too over the course of a season. So, they're going to help with your individual goalie sessions, right? You're going to need shooters. So it's good to have that communication and have those conversations at practice. And during those pre-scout meetings, you want them to feel comfortable being able to come up to you and ask questions about the opposing goaltender and, trends that you're seeing. And we'll get into all that later in the presentation, but you want to be able to have these players feel comfortable coming to you, not just because you're a goaltending coach, but you're also a part of the coaching staff. So I think that's very important. But just going off that too, how you build these relationships with the players is asking them how their day is and actually listening and providing feedback. Read their body language, read their body cues. If they're having a tough day, really understand why and listen, and then try to, help them in any way you can with your own life experiences, and help them, and be a voice and, be an ear, that, that's listening, and, someone that they can count on as well, because like I said, you are a part of the coaching staff. So how to assist the coaching staff. So like mentioned earlier, help in any way possible. So get as involved as possible and add value every single day. So how can we do this? There's multiple ways. You can do as little as you want or as much as you want, depending on, what level you're coaching and how involved you are. But a great way to do this is, creating pre-scout presentations on the opposing goaltenders for the players, even for special teams if there's a need within the program. So that'll obviously dictate on, what who's on staff with, the team that you're with, what they're looking for. But if you can add value, if you can do, the extra mile for them, then do it. Get involved. It only helps expand your knowledge as a coach. It only helps the program. And if there's a need, then try to help fill it, right? So again, this will be a little different, obviously, in the minor hockey level. You don't typically do pre-scouts, but it is one way that you can help. And if that just means, letting the team know at the minor hockey league level, that maybe some tendencies you see from the opposing goalie from the last time you played that goalie, or maybe things you're seeing in warm up, and just letting the forwards and defense know what you're seeing. Those things can go a long way in regards to a pre-scout, if you will. Share your development plan with other coaches and explain your goalie terminology and what they need to focus on the most. I think that's very important as well. So there's going to be times, again, depends on how involved you are with the team. If you're there once a week, if you're there every single practice, it varies obviously, but especially on days when you're not present at practice, you want to make sure your head coach and assistant coaches know the terminology you use with them. So then if they communicate with them, it's all on the same page and it's all within the culture that you've helped develop on the goaltending side of things. So, and you want to share that development plan, because I think that's very important in regards to the other coaches knowing, where you're trying to get them to go, and what they need to work on the most. Keep them in the loop with the development as well and the progress. Share coaching resources or drills that you come across that could be useful, like I mentioned earlier. And then communicate with your coaching staff about practice plans. I think this is a very big piece. So definitely note this. Make practices as goalie friendly as possible. And what I mean by that is, there's going to be obviously practices that are more tailored to the players, and I'll explain that in a second. But what I mean is, make sure that there's a proper warm up for the goalie. So, maybe a little farther out, there's a good timing in between shots, so the goalies can get square set and track pucks. Their shots from pretty far out, so they can, get their eyes warmed up, especially if you don't get time to work with the goaltenders before the practice starts and you're jumping right into things. That's massive as well. And also, eliminating as many drills that don't involve a crease. Obviously there's going to be some drills that are, a little more, that are in the neutral zone, whatever it may be. That's more than okay. But if every drill that practice is like that, it's tough for the goalie to find his or her net. And it's, that can cause some complications as time goes on. So you want to be aware. And that's, again, this communication and dialogue between the coaching staff and the goalie coach about trying to make the practice as goalie friendly as possible. But how do we approach situations that aren't as goalie friendly? So like I said, if a whole practice, doesn't involve a crease for the goalies, or, maybe it's 3-on-0s and it's not very game like, how do we approach that? for me, how I talk about that with my goaltenders is, this is a great drill for mental toughness. This is a great drill for you to battle, for you to compete. They're going to score probably maybe 7 out of 10 times, but this is a chance for you to get creative, make those, those difficult saves that, if this situation happens in the game, it's not something you haven't seen before. Or if you are getting scored on 3 or 4 shots in a row, how are you going to bounce back? What's going through your head? It's all good stuff. At the end of the day, as much as it could be a situation that isn't goalie friendly, you can take it and turn it into a positive and make it into your own. So again, that's how I communicate with my goalies. If they're getting frustrated, this is a way to build mental toughness that will translate into a game, and also be creative, which I think is massive. Also, fill in a goals against chart that you can actually find in Hockey Canada. It's free. It's a resource. I use it. It's awesome. Especially for games. So in that way, you can find trends within your own defensive system and communicate your findings with other coaches. Sorry. See what type of goals are typically happening. If that's maybe a defensive breakdown that's happening multiple times in a game, or the last 10, 15, 20 goals. This is a very common theme on why we're getting scored on, or then you can start realizing how your goaltender is getting beat. All these things are important, and again, it's I'll be showing it a little later on in the slideshow as well. The goals against chart that I'm using from Hockey Canada, but it's very important because again, this is how you can find those trends and patterns. And then scouting and recruiting as well. As a goaltending coach, if you can assist on just the goaltending side of things, because typically, head coaches and assistant coaches aren't goalie specialists and they don't really know what to look for, and they turn to you to help, recruit or scout for the next year, or the years coming up. So, for you, it's very important as a goaltending coach to try to get involved as much as you can and expand your knowledge and expertise on the goaltending side of things. And we'll get into that a little bit later as well. So individual development, how can we as coaches help our athletes succeed, right? So, find out their goal and dream and help them find the best possible route to achieving it. Be involved with their off-ice development, schooling, athletic training, etc. As a goaltending coach, this is going the extra mile that I mentioned at the very beginning, right? How can you go above and beyond for your organization? And this is one way is, the first question I ask every goal that I work with is, what is your goal and what is your dream? And by me knowing so, I know their motivations. I know what's kind of where they're looking. And you can always use that to, again, that's what makes them tick. So if, they're struggling, or if, they're losing that motivation in the practice, or they're not working hard, it's that simple nudge that this is why you're here. This is why you're playing, not just because you love it, but because you have goals and dreams. To make it to the next level, or to make you here, or to achieve this. And you want to help in any way possible. And you want to be involved in all aspects to make that dream or goal come true. And we'll talk about a little bit later as well with the off-ice development. If you have a strength and conditioning coach with the program, phenomenal, right? That's great. But get involved, have that conversation with them. What are they doing with, goalies? Because, goalies are a different breed. Like a lot of and it's a different dynamic than a player in regards to their development off the ice as well. So you want to be involved and help in any way possible if they're not so familiar with the goaltending side of things. If they're trying to get a scholarship, or even just they're still in school, help, get them the right help if they need it, and if you can, and then also their athletic training. Be there for any questions that they may have, stretches, agility, hand-eye coordination drills, whatever it may be. Provide resources if needed. So also create a foundation keys document based on their strengths and areas of improvement. So this is the development plan. This is a part of the development plan that I was talking about earlier that you want to share with the coaching staff. But you want to create this for each goalie that you work with, and you should actually let them know this is where they should be keeping this document in their stall or their locker room, or if they don't have one, to bring with them. So keep them in their hockey bag, if it's laminated, whatever it may be. Something they should read before every practice, and at the end of every practice, and before every game, at the end of every game. It's just, simple reminders, keys to success, technical system, the season blueprint, and their development plan all in one. It's two-sided, it's one page, double-sided. And, I think it's very important for them to have it just, gets them the right mind frame and what they need to work on going onto the ice. And then when they come off, they can think about what they did successfully in that practice or what they could have done, a little differently to be even more successful for the next ice time or the next game. And then again, this will on the same document, you develop a game day mental checklist. So just gentle reminders of what they can do to be the best they can be in that game, and to get in the right mindset. In regards to practices, how I like to do it is I like to incorporate edge work and skating to start. Get their blood pumping. Get them moving. I like to do a lot of skating patterns that are game like. If that's outside the crease, so be it. If that's in the crease, amazing. Again, all depends on how much time you have and the resources that you do have, depending on what team you're with, and how much ice time you get. But then I focus on tracking. So warm up. That's my next thing after skating. Is we get into tracking, just simple tracking drills to warm up their eyes, get their hands moving, get their eyes moving. Incorporating puck handling. I think that's a very big thing, especially the last 5 to 10 years in goaltending is, incorporating puck handling in practice plans. So they feel comfortable with the puck. They feel comfortable stopping rims, making that 5-foot pass, 10-foot pass, whatever it may be. And they're not so scared to use their stick. And then also for me personally, I'm not a huge gimmick guy. For me, I like to use drills that are very game-like, game-like situations. And again, it's determined on the space and time given by the head coach. But a lot of my drills are very game-like, and again, it's trends that you see in the games previously or aspects that we need to work on the most. But when having these practice plans, make sure you have a theme. Make sure the drills all add up. The skating drill is very similar to maybe something that you're going to do in these game-like situational drills. The tracking, you can change it up. It's good to have a routine, have, the same maybe 2 to 4 warm-up drills, but change it up sometimes, get their feet moving as well in the warm-up. Try not to be too stationary. All depends on what you're trying to work on, but I like to keep my goalies moving, high intensity. And again, so they can keep building that work ethic and even when they're getting tired, that attention to detail is still there. So have a theme, if that's below goal line pass outs, if that is, lateral plays, if that's screens and deflections, whatever it may be, have a theme. And, those 2 drills that you might do, make sure they're kind of go hand in hand. So you're really laser focusing on 1 or 2 main objectives. Especially situations that exploit their weaknesses, because that's what you want to diminish, right? Is their weaknesses over time, and by doing that is by laser focusing on 1 or 2 main objectives each practice, so they feel comfortable. And when those situations are presented in front of them in the game, they recognize those patterns and they've been there before, and they had that attention to detail to create those positive habits day in and day out. For me too, simpler is better. Focus on, again, strong habits, work ethic, attention to detail. Your drills don't have to be super complicated. Sometimes people or other coaches believe that, drills have to be complicated and very tactical to get the most out of them. And that's not true at all. The game can be very simple. As a goaltender, the game comes to you. It's just recognizing patterns and recognizing situations when they are presented in a game. And by doing that, again, just creating simpler in drills so they can, track effectively, recover to their spots on their feet with explosiveness, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many things you can get into, but I believe simpler is the better route in regards to the drills that you create. But also make sure you organize your practice plans in the binder. That's important too. You want to be able to look back in previous years and, the following season and, have dates on them, see the progress and the plan that you developed, from the beginning of training camps to the very end of the season, and have those themes and have it all color coded in a big binder. I have this massive binder. It's pretty thick now of drills. And they're all organized based on certain situations and objectives that I like to work on. And so if I have to pull a certain drill for, again, like I said, below goal line plays, or even for a simple warm up or puck handling or skating. It's all organized, and I can go through and try to find a drill that makes sense based on what I want to work on with my goaltenders that day. So here's an example of a couple development plans here on ice and off ice. So you'll see on the left there the goaltending athletic development plan. That was something that actually helped develop with our strength and conditioning coach, Xavier Waugh. He has a PhD and he's a professor at Bishop's University under the Department of Sports Studies. He actually reached out to me and asked if we can develop something, because he didn't know much about the goaltending side of things and what they need as a goaltender. And I said, of course, I think this is a great idea. So we sat down, multiple Zoom calls, and developed a development plan. He did what he needed to do as a development coach, and came up with the proper workouts and the frequency of the workouts to make them as successful as possible in season and out of season. But I gave him the tools about the areas of focus. Again, hip mobility, core strength, leg strength. We got into so many great things, but again, that's dialogue within the coaches in your organization, and looking to create a positive culture and a successful culture by going that extra mile and going position by position in regards to their development plan off the ice. And then you see there, that's on the right is a development plan that I was talking about that the goalie should keep in their room or in their bag if they don't have a dressing room, and look at it before every game and after every game, and same thing for practices too. So you'll see those core principles there under the foundation keys. The simple stuff. Be a good teammate, lead by example, be self-motivated, driven, et cetera, et cetera. And then you'll see over there the rest of that technical package. What you need to do for movement. Your save execution. Let the game come to you. So, being patient, being relaxed, trusting your hockey IQ, good focus and pace, and all the points below that, and, competing your game keys, which again is crucial as well. Your game keys, which goes hand in hand with, your game day mental checklist, which is on the backside there, and areas of improvement too. So that's something that is very important during the practice side of things. So reading that before practice and saying, okay, this is what I need to work on as a goaltender to be as successful as possible day in and day out. And this is what I need to work on individually. So this document is the same for each and every goalie that I make it for. The only difference is the areas of improvement. Each goalie has different things they need to work on. And that's where I'll put those key points based on what I see when I first start working with them. And that's what we're going to try to bear down on over the course of that season. And then obviously going into the seasons coming up after the fact, if they're still with us or if I'm still with that organization. So that's very important. I actually got this idea from Scott Clemenson, so the director of goaltending development with the New Jersey Devils. He had a presentation, and I saw this a while ago, and I thought it was a great idea, something he did with Mackenzie Blackwood. So I can't take all the credit. Again, that's the hockey world, right? You learn so much from so many other individuals, and this is one of them that I learned and I loved, and I kind of made it my own. But I definitely can't take the credit for it because Scott came up with it, and he's obviously one of the best. So kudos to him. And again, this is why you network and you try to learn as much as possible. So individual development continued. Another thing too that is very important is monitor the rest and maintenance. Especially once you get into the grind of the season, you want to make sure you monitor that and listen to something. You'll have goalies who don't want to take a day off, and that's a great attitude to have. But as a coach, again, as being their caddy or their gatekeeper, if you will, you got to make sure you monitor the rest and maintenance, so then they can recover effectively and be ready for a long playoff run, or if they have to play multiple games in a week, they're well rested and they're ready to go, because fatigue is a thing, right? And again, as a coach, you want to have that dialogue and that communication with them, and then also provide goaltending and personal development resources to your goalies. Show clips of NHL goalies. So one thing that I love to do is, from the night before, I'll show some clips. I'll send some clips to my goalies of what I liked. If I saw something that Carey Price did or Marc-Andre Fleury or whoever, being a play on their feet, or the visual attachment, or how they played the puck. I'll send a clip like that. Or if a certain save selection was used improperly. If they went into RVH too early or whatever it may be, a goal from the night before, I'll send those clips off to my goalie, so they, we can have that dialogue and we can talk about what we see in that clip. And I usually ask them first, what are you seeing first? And then we'll have that conversation after the fact, which again, it's a learning tool for them, and it's how they'll develop their hockey IQ as well. And also books to read, podcasts to listen to, etc. Those are important too, because if they're struggling with a certain aspect of life, you can always find a book that might be useful for them to read to help them with what they're struggling with, or even a podcast. There's so many good resources out there for personal development. And then also video breakdown. So sitting down and after a weekend of games, or before going into a weekend of games, having that video breakdown, if that's drills that you're doing in practice, if that's again goals against or plays that you really like that your goaltender was doing, all great conversation dialogue, and this is all done through video. I think that's a great way for goalies to develop and learn, especially for watching themselves play. So sitting down in the classroom, or in the video room, and breaking down what you saw in clips that you developed, and then recreating certain situations in practice. So there's a certain play that was hurting your goaltender and your team over the weekend. Having that conversation when you're showing the video, and then explaining what we could have done differently or what we did well, depending on what the situation is, and then recreating that situation in practice. That's where creativity comes in as a coach, and trying to make as much game-like situational drills as possible, especially ones that will kind of exploit their weaknesses, so they can be as good as they can be and diminish those weaknesses. Communicate with their other goalie coaches too. For me, I love having my goalies have other voices, and especially goalie coaches they've been with before I even started working with them, right? There's so many great goalie coaches out there. It's not just your way is the highway. They obviously are, do what they do, and they love what they do for a reason, and they have such great expertise as well. So we communicate with them. That's where you can learn. They can learn from you, and at the end of the day, you're helping your goaltender be as successful as possible and help them achieve their goals and dreams, like I mentioned earlier. So, and that's the same with the other goalie coaches. They want them to be as successful and achieve their goals and dreams as much as you do. So if you guys can collaborate and make that possible, then by all means, you should be doing that. Because your goaltenders will go home in the off season. You might not be able to work with them in the off season, and they'll be going back, with their original goalie coach, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a new voice, and it's a way for them to be very successful and to learn from different people in the hockey world. So, different coaches. So I think that's it's massive, and you to have that communication with others is crucial. So here we're going to get into, a pre-scout presentation and the goals against chart. So you'll see there on the right, that's the goals against chart that I was talking about, that I use from Hockey Canada. Again, it's a free resource, and you should have another binder for that. That's what I do. So I have my binders for drills, but then I also have a binder that I use for in-season stuff, such as, again, the goals against log sheet, or my pre-scout. So you can also store it on your laptop. I do that too, just in case anything happens to the binder, but I'm kind of old school where I like to have a paper copy and a paper trail, if you will. So you'll see here, the goal score, the goal description, the goal location, shot location, it gives you a bunch of different plays, again, like a lateral play, a pass out, a screen play, a tip play, whatever it may be, and you can mark it all up. And then once you look back after a 3-game weekend, you can see if there's any trends or anything that you notice, any patterns, and then you can bring it into the next week of practice. So again, this is about identifying certain situations that are happening, and recreating them in practice to help diminish them for the future. So we'll get into a pre-scout here. And what's the objective of a pre-scout? So, give players necessary information to be as successful as possible in the offensive zone and in scoring situations. This is how you're going to help your team score goals. Obviously, as a goaltending coach, you know a lot about goaltending, and that's your specialty. So, how can you exploit the other goaltender, and give your team the best chance to score and win hockey games. So, what you want to identify is scoring trends and goal locations over a significant period of time on the opposing goaltender. Tactics to take advantage of goaltenders and team defensive weaknesses. Their strengths and exploitable areas based on their goaltender style of play, their strengths and weaknesses in breakaway and shootout situations. So then after, if every point matters, it depends obviously what league you're in. Again, minor hockey, not so much. But if there is shootouts in your league, every point's crucial. Every point matters, especially once you get down to the playoff push at the end of the year. So you want to be able to help your team in shootout situations or even in breakaways. That could be the reason why you win a game if you don't win a game, if your players can't score that one big breakaway, right? So you want to give them as many tools as possible to be as successful as possible when you play an opposing goaltender. So here's a pre-scout example. I did Marc-Andre Fleury here in the NHL. So this is an example of what one will look like. So how do we make a presentation? So you don't want to make it too complicated. You want to make it one page so it catches the attention of the players. Again, you're talking to players, right? So they don't know the terminology in regards to goalies, and you don't want to overwhelm them with so much information. So you want to kind of keep it clean, keep it concise, and again make it one page. So one page with font and subtitles that catch attention. So nothing too flashy, but something that might stick in their brain. So when they're on the bench or they're on the ice, it'll stick out to them like a sore thumb. That's something that you want to do to help them be successful and give your team the best chance to score goals. And then bold key terms. Again, that might stick out to the players and help them remember it. But you also want to be present to explain the terminology. So be at the rink early before game days. Be available. Be able to explain the terminology that you might use. Try not to be too wordy. Try to make it again accommodating for a player to understand. So again, try to be player friendly with the words that you use. Show current stats with a visual of recent scoring trends. So you'll see there. This is I've learned a lot about pre-scouting from my mentors. Curtis Sanford, Andrew Allen, Jimmy Waite, Bill Ranford. Those guys have been amazing, and they all have such great points in regards to how to develop a pre-scout. But that's the visuals are very important. So like showing a green light. This is where Marc-Andre Fleury has been. This is where he's getting beat the most in recent games. So it's something that will stick out to players. This visual and something that they'll think about when they're coming down on the opposing goaltender, and in this situation, Marc-Andre Fleury. So you want to have a point form You want to have point form explanations so it is digestible for players and will stick out in their memory. And like I mentioned, and you will have to update your pre-scouts as the season goes on. So something to keep note of because there'll be more evidence and sample sizing in regards to goals against. So to continue this, how do we make a video package that supports your document? So, this is more so at the junior and professional level, to create these videos that you keep on loop in the dressing room. And like I mentioned earlier, for pre-scouts at a minor hockey league level, you just have to, again, what you notice from last game, what you notice in warm up, just kind of give a couple key points about how you can beat this goaltender based on what you see. If you're there at the game, let them know in the dressing room or let them know at intermission what you're seeing. That there's always ways you can help as a goaltending coach against an opposing goaltender and how we can produce as many goals as possible based on just some advice and some trends that you're recognizing as a goaltending specialist. So, usually at the professional junior level, you have a video coach that will provide the clips to you or you have access to game footage and you can screen record to make these clips. So how you want to do it is, you want to take the last 15 to 20 goals against of the opposing goaltender and make a video package. You can use multiple different softwares like Sports Code, QuickTime, iMovie, etc. I've used all three. Depends on the format that you're using, how you access the game footage. But they're all pretty easy to use, and again, you can figure it out through Google and just looking it up. Again, I'm not the most tech savvy guy, but if I could figure out those three, I'm sure you can too. So there's something to keep in mind: the last 15 to 20 goals against, and then mark up each clip by explaining what just got exploited. So use same terminology as your document, so it goes hand in hand. Essentially providing evidence of your findings through video. And then play the video package on loop in the dressing room 2 to 3 hours prior to puck drop. Have the document around the room and near the TV. So be present for any questions that the players may have, and it just keeps playing over and over again. Moving on, the scouting and tryout process. So, this is very important too. Like I said, you want to be involved as much as you can and go above and beyond for your organization. This is one way you can do it, by helping, pick your goaltenders, helping the head coach and assistant coaches with that decision. So how do you determine what your organization wants, and what should other scouts look for in a goalie? So if you're lucky enough to have other scouts with your program, it's good to sit down and, again, talk about goalie terminology, what you look for as a goalie coach, what you think would be the best, the best option, or the best goaltender, based on your defensive structure, and what you want to work with who you want to work with, what attributes that you think are the most important for a goaltender. And then, again, it's great to have those meetings and that dialogue, so everyone's on the same page. So if you can't, go watch these goalies, and other scouts are there on your behalf. They know what they should be looking for. And then how do you determine what your organization wants? Like I just said, have a meeting with the other coaches, the scouting staff, and sit down and really talk about, okay, this is what we're looking for. This is the type of goaltender that will make us the most successful, and who we want to be a part of our organization. And to me, honestly, it goes beyond just the goalie's, physical play, how they play as a goalie. I think, the mental side of the game, how involved they are outside of hockey, is so important to me, because, these people, these goalies, and, these athletes that you're bringing in, are going to be a part of your culture, going to be part of the family. So you want to make sure you're bringing in good people. Right? People first, and then hockey second. So you want to be bringing in good people that work hard, have that attention to detail, and then you can, make the magic work once you start working together. So here's a list that I developed with the admissions team at Stansted College. Obviously, I can't show the document of the scouting reports I've made over the last year of the goalies that we were looking at and have talked to and have reached out. But these are the desirable attributes that we decided that we wanted to look for at the beginning of the season, and what we deemed to be as a goaltender that we wanted. And I basically made kind of a little bit of a a point system on how I wanted to rank them, and there's a lot of factors involved in how I wanted to rank them. Right. So again, you have these, like, I like to have interviews with the goalies that I'm scouting, and ask them certain questions, about their personality, their demeanor in the room, how they are on the ice, what they think their strengths are, their weaknesses, et cetera, et cetera. It's you want to make sure that you get to know a lot about them as a person as well, not just them as a goaltender. What makes them tick, what are their goals and dreams, their short-term, long-term goals. You can ask so many different questions. It's like it's, again, an interview process. So here are some desirable attributes that we look for at Stansted, and I think that all goalie coaches and organizations should look for when they look at a goaltender. Is a positive attitude, mental toughness. So when you're watching them play in a game, you want to see how they react when they face adversity, or if they let the first shot of the game, and you want to see how they react. You want to see their work ethic. Are they competing for pucks? Especially if it's a wide empty net, are they going for it no matter what? You want to see their compete level, their ambition to win hockey games. Their communication between coaches and teammates. Are they communicating with their defense? Are they communicating, when they go to the bench on a timeout, or if they have for during warm up? You want to see how they interact with their team. Are they a team first player? Do they keep to themselves? Whatever it may be, it's good to know those things, and to see how they communicate amongst their peers. Their leadership and community involvement. That's something I asked in the interview process. I really, like I said, I really care about, how they are as people. Are they involved? Do they want to give back? What kind of legacy do they want to leave? Do they want to leave places better than they find it? And that's important for me. And like I said, a non-negotiable for me is, being an exceptional leader in the classroom, in the community, and on the ice. And kind of being that captain of the ship within the program. And then obviously the physical stuff, the tactical stuff as a goaltender, your hockey IQ, so finding threats, your save selection, skating, the edge work, post play, your balance, and positioning, depth control on rush plays or end zone, their recovery tactics, angles, etc. Their hands and feet, their tracking, rate transfer, stance, the athleticism. Are they creative? Can they make that big save at the big moment? Are they not afraid to go outside the box and not so technical at times? If they can throw everything out the window and just stop the puck. That's what makes the game so fun. That's why individuals become goalies, is by seeing those saves on TV when you're young. For me, it was Roberto Longo and Marc-Andre Fleury and Martin Brodeur, and seeing those flying poke checks and stack the pads and crazy glove saves. Like, that's what made me want to become a goaltender. And it's a way to be creative and throw off players who are coming down on you. Size. It's not always height. I like to say, I like to think box control. How big does a goaltender play? I've seen goalies who are 6'2" who play like they're 5'10". I've seen goalies who are 5'9" play like they're 6 foot. Like, it's how big do they make themselves? How do they present themselves in the net? And again, that's all stuff that's, I think, important. And then rebound control, obviously, for team dynamics. How do they control the puck? How do they trap pucks effectively? And then obviously puck handling is something you have to put in there, because that is how you can help your team and your defensive system moving forward, right? To get the puck out of the zone and to have clean breakouts. So puck handling is very important as well. So to continue this, the process of finding the right goaltender for your organization. So again, scouting games, talking to former coaches, the interview process, like we mentioned, and then meeting with the scouting staff, all stuff we talked about. How to effectively evaluate goaltenders properly during minor hockey tryouts, and what you can do to go above and beyond. So what I kind of mentioned is a little more like a junior hockey, professional level, having a scouting staff, what you do to to find that goaltender that would be the best fit for your organization. Minor hockey is a little different, obviously, right? You can have goalies try out from all over. If they from the city over, and they're trying out for your town, whatever it may be. There's different ways to evaluate them, so we'll get into that right here. Again, collaborate with the coaching staff about goalie-friendly drills during tryouts. You want to give the goaltenders the best chance possible to show their stuff. To demonstrate what they have and what skills they possess. And it's kind of hard to show that when the drills aren't so much goalie-friendly, and they haven't had time to have a proper warm-up, and etc. Like, there's so many different things that could be a factor on how to effectively scout a goaltender during a minor hockey league tryout. Make scouting notes after each tryout, regardless of it on the ice or on the bench, who stood out and why. So, make notes, keep mental notes, and then write them down on a notepad after, so you remember it, and you can bring it up if you have to at a later date, especially as the tryout process goes on. And if you're on the bench, it's even easier, because again, you can have the notepad right in front of you and make those notes. But if you're on the ice, just keep a mental note, and make sure you jot it down after the fact, so you can bring it up when needed, because it will be needed at some point during during those meetings with the coaching staff on who you want to select. Talk to previous coaches about their attitude, work ethic, demeanor, to get a little more of a background on a goaltender you might be interested in or you don't know too much about. Again, that's why, networking and talking to other coaches and communicating like that, because the hockey world is so small, is very, very important in order to make the best decision possible. Have an information Zoom call with goalies and parents or in person. As of right now, obviously with COVID, depends where you are. But if you can have an information Zoom call with everyone involved, all the goalies trying out and their parents before the first tryout. So, your expectations, what your non-negotiables are, your philosophy, what the coaches are looking for, not just yourself, but the head coach and the assistant coaches, get them involved as well. How to be successful at tryouts, give them a couple hints about how to be successful during the tryout process, how to stick out or stand out. And then at the end of it, have those one-on-one exit meetings. Don't just let them leave not knowing what they did wrong or what they could do better to be successful the next time or why they were successful. It's always good to have that feedback, positive, and it's always positive feedback. Sorry, it's just good to have that dialogue and provide that with the parents too, depending on the age, right? If you're talking about midget, you can probably, or sorry, I should say, U17, U18 now. It's good to have that dialogue with the goal individually, but if you're with the younger ages, like U12, U13, if the parent, it's probably good to have the parents in there too, just to kind of have that communication. So reviewing your report, your approach, the strengths that you saw, areas of improvement, etc., and why they were successful in making team or why they weren't, depending on who you're talking to. And then keep tabs on goalies who didn't make it, but have potential for the following season. Because again, they're still developing. Each year is a new year. Goalies, it's all about the time they put in and how badly they want it, right? You can have a goalie who's was AAA at 12 years old who isn't even playing hockey at 15, right? So just keep tabs. Especially goalies who you like a lot, but just not there yet. Make sure you communicate with their coaches and you go out to a game or two if you can, if you're around the area or in the rink already, just to see how they're developing. So lastly, some good resources to constantly be learning. So I just threw in a few books and some online material that I use myself or I have read in the past. There's a lot more obviously out there, but just here's just a few. So for example, with books, number one, The Obstacle is the Way or Ego is the Enemy, both by Ryan Holiday. Life-changing books to me and, in personal development. The Go Giver by Bob Berg and John David Mann. Again, about, being a connector and a communicator, connecting others, and always giving first, right? And everything will always come back down the line. But first and foremost, it's about people first and what you can do to enhance them in their lives. And then Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. It's his life story, is kind of his thoughts in a journal since he was a young boy. And just seeing his personal growth over all those years and the lessons that he learned as time went on and grew into the famous person he is today. And then for online material, obviously, In Goal Magazine and the radio podcast, such great resources there for a goalie coach, with, the gear talk that they have and the gear review and the guests they have on their podcast and, other, amazing goalie coaches and at the professional level and what you can learn from them. And also drills. They have, a pro read section and you have NHL goalies break down certain situations and it's like almost like a video breakdown. And I think that's massive and it helps you learn as a coach, but it's also, a great tool to show your goalies. And then the coaches site, obviously, the Hockey Minds podcast, had to put that in there. And that's a legitimate one because of all the amazing hockey minds that get asked to be a part of the podcast and to hear their thoughts and insights. It's a great learning tool because they're from all around the world from different levels and different experiences and it's every single podcast is something new and I love listening to it. So I definitely have to throw that in there. And then also the Glass and Out podcast is another one very similar to the Hockey Minds, having different guests, different coaches from around the world, and sharing their insights and knowledge on the game of hockey. So that brings us to the end of my presentation here. So again, thank you. And like I mentioned at the very beginning, feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I'm always glad to talk hockey and to network and connect with others. You can find me on my work email there, flongo@stanstedcollege.com, or my personal at longo3434@gmail.com. There's my number there as well if you want to send me a quick call or text at any time. I'm more than willing to listen, and like I said, if I can help in any way, I'll be there. So, and you can also find me on LinkedIn as well if you want to connect. I think that's it's a great social media site for networking, obviously, and building that building those connections. So, just want to say thank you again, and I appreciate you listening, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day, and thank you.